What's up, guys? It's Rob from the 305 Garage. Today we're doing some work on my 2002 Corvette C5 convertible. Now, I acquired this car a while ago. I have not done any videos on it. I will give you guys the backstory on this car, where I found it, what I paid for it, the history of the car, what I'm doing with it. But for right now, I wanted to give you guys a quick video on a common question that I read on the forums. And that question is, how do you change ball joints and wheel bearing hub assemblies on a C5 Corvette? This process should also apply to the C6 Corvette. So you C6 Corvette owners, stay tuned. This also applies to you. All right, so I'm going to show you how to rebuild the front and rear hubs in a C5 Corvette. This is off my 2002 convertible C5 with 145,000 miles. Just I've dropped everything out: drivetrain, engine, transmission, rear, everything, just going through the whole car. So I've got this is one of the front hubs. This is actually the front right. You can see it has the R there. These spindles are actually the same, front and rear, just uses a different type bearing, front and rear. But the ball joints, upper ball joints, on all four of the spindles, upper ball joints are the same, and all four of the lower ball joints, which are actually on the control arms, are the same as well too. All right, so what I do now is take my air impact, and then I have a T55 driver here, put on the end of my impact tool, reverse, and I can simply make sure it's seated. And I can simply undo these. Okay, that one. This one's harder here. This one, for some reason. All right, got that one. Okay, so that's it. So the bolts come out, and you can simply unclip the ABS sensor here, and I'm doing this one-handed here, and that's it. Pull it apart. So there's my old hub. Here's the bracket for the ABS wire, and this is the old OEM hub, replacing them with new Timken hubs. So now I'm going to bead blast the knuckle. I prefer to do it with the old, just kind of my preference. I prefer to do it with the old ball joint still in place. The reason being, that way the blast cabinet doesn't damage or alter any of the what do you call it? I guess the journal, so to speak, inside. Keep it nice and OEM. So I'll bead blast the whole thing in my glass cabinet, get it nice and cleaned up, and then I'll show you how to remove and press in the new ball joints. So you're going to need a ball joint removal tool. I own this piece. This is by actually Harbor Freight one. I have actually two. I have a Harbor Freight one and I have an OTC one. So this is actually the Harbor Freight one. Pretty cheap. You can buy them, you can rent them. And so you're gonna need the C clamp. You're gonna need these two adapters, one of each. They're the same pretty much. And then you're gonna need the mid-size sleeve. I also recommend using a air impact wrench. You can put it in a vise and use it by hand wrench. However, I just prefer to use an impact. It's nice and easy, nice and slow. So in this case, I have an impact here and a 22mm impact socket to go on the end of the shaft to tighten it. Okay, so you're gonna need to arrange it in the fashion such as this. It's a little bit unconventional compared to other cars, but in the case of the Corvette, the way this ball joint is in the knuckle and none of the arm, a little untraditional for most vehicles, you kind of have to arrange it in this manner. And once you get it this configuration, just simply tighten on the end and go nice and slow. Just you want to make sure that the ball joint shaft doesn't get cockeyed and start going crooked and then causing a problem. Just go nice and slow. If you see it move, just back it up and retighten it until it pops out. So let's see if I can do this here. that's it. It pops out. That's it. Very simple. Loosen it up. Get this piece out. This piece out here. Pop the C-clamp out, and then you just have to get a hammer here and just tap the ball joint out, and that's it. Nice and easy. Okay, now to reinstall. First thing you do, take a little bit of brake clean. And just simply clean. Just get it nice and clean. And then let me set it up. Alright, now we take our new ball joint. Brand new, fresh, greasable ball joint, different from the OEM. The OEM ball joint does not have greasable fittings. As you can see, this is really loose. 145,000 miles. Time for replacement. Okay, now you want to set up your ball joint press pieces as such, your tool as such. Ball joint in the middle here, this piece here, sleeve, and the ring here. Set it up such, and simply drive it in. It's kind of a pain because it wants to cock and twist, so you just gotta play with it right. Once you get it started going straight, then you're fine. You just want to make sure it goes straight. The second that you see it start cocking and twisting, you got to loosen it up and straighten it back up, because this is aluminum and you'll damage the aluminum. Okay, so I got it started, loosened it back up. I got a hammer, kind of tapped it in place a little bit, and it's straight. So it's started and it's straight now. So now we just drive it the rest of the way in, nice and easy, until the lip seats of the aluminum spindle. Don't overdo it, just till it's nice and flat and you see no gap, and you're good to go. Okay, so I got it in there nice and straight now, and let's keep tightening it and get it all the way seated. Alright, so it's binding there, so just gotta kind of loosen it and reposition it. Just retighten it into place. Just make sure nothing is binding here. Take your time, because you don't want to damage anything. Okay, so that looks good. Just tighten it until it seats. See? It's nice and seated, and we're good to go. Don't forget to snug up your 9/32 grease fitting, which I did already. And that's it. You're ready to go. Put it back in the car, and then don't forget to give it a nice liberal shot of grease when it's all back together, and you'll be good for another 100,000 miles. Now we've got our spindle blasted. We've got the ball joint installed with the grease fitting. We're ready now to install the wheel bearing hub assembly. These are Timken wheel bearings. I definitely recommend choosing a high quality made in USA bearing. As you can see, Timken made in USA. I do not recommend lower priced made in China or elsewhere bearings. They are available. I personally don't recommend them. These are good for 100,000 miles. Spend the money, get good stuff. So we've got also the bracket here. I went ahead and bead blasted this bracket and sprayed it with some Eastwood metal paint. Got that all good to go. We've got the bolts all cleaned up here, and I did apply some blue. I do recommend using blue thread locker on pretty much all the suspension components on the car. Once you get the blue thread locker on the threads, put those aside for a second, let them harden a little bit. Let's go ahead and get the wheel bearing. So we got it set up here. We want to put this with the ABS wiring sensor positioned above as such, and we simply attach the bracket as such, place it over the bearing, put it in place, clip on the wiring sensor, take your bolts, just go ahead and manually start them, get them where they're threading nice until you feel resistance. Make sure the wiring harness does not get caught under the bolt here. All right, got those good to go. Now take your torque wrench and you want to torque the 3 bolts down to 96 foot-pounds. That's it, you're done. Here's one of the rear hubs. This is pretty much the same process. The only difference is the backing plate is a little bit different. These I blasted and painted these chassis black. Better than new. Well, that's it, guys. It's a fairly simple process, changing out the upper and lower ball joints and the wheel bearing hub assemblies on a C5 Corvette. I hope you guys like this video. Please hit that big like button. Please subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming up on the C5 Corvette. As always, I appreciate you guys watching here at the 305 Garage. This is Rob, and I'll see you next time.